Not all knowledge is dry, and not all research is boring. We will show you how the greatest facts and most profound knowledge of human civilization can be funny and amusingly misunderstood. Welcome to Brain Booster Age. From when the universe was formed after the Big Bang, from when the first living organisms evolved, from when humans invented fire, to the Crusade in Jerusalem, through 2 world wars, and up to the modern era, we have always asked ourselves, when finished using the toilet, should the toilet paper face outwards or inwards? This classic debate attracts humanity's leading historians. Both sides of the argument have their own points. Those who say the roll should face outwards say that it's simply easier to grab, and the paper sticking out away from the wall won't rub against the wall, thereby reducing the spread of bacteria throughout the bathroom. Those who say the roll should face inwards say that it looks neater that way, because the excess paper is hidden behind the roll. And at the same time, it also reduces the possibility of infants or mischievous toddlers pulling on the entire roll. Neither side would yield, so there's only one solution. Ask the father and owner of toilet paper. We will go back to ancient times. Not that far back. Where else to go? Here we are, China, 2nd century AD. The use of paper for hygiene after bowel movements was recorded. Scholars quickly wrote that pieces of paper recounting the 5 classics or bearing the names of sages should not be used for hygiene purposes. In 1793, 20,000 sheets of toilet paper were produced for the imperial court in Nanjing. And according to documents from that same year, Emperor Hongwu's family alone did not use paper, but rather 15,000 pieces of soft cloth for hygiene, with each piece being sprayed with perfume. That was China. What about Rome, the center of one of history's greatest civilizations? Toilet paper was not used. Romans used a stick with a sponge on it for hygiene after doing their business. Afterwards, it would be placed in a bucket containing vinegar to sanitize it for reuse. While according to medical texts and instructions for Judaism written by Dr. Chul Seuss, Jews would take care of business using smooth stones or broken pottery shards. By the 15th century, more and more places used paper for cleaning after using the toilet. And in America too. But the paper commonly used here was newspapers, magazines, and catalogs. It wasn't until 1857 that a man named Joseph Gaiety introduced something called Gaiety's medicated paper, which was safer for the backside because his pure white paper contained fewer chemicals. However, his Gaiety paper wasn't really that safe, as it occasionally contained wood splinters, which, you can imagine, after wiping, a small piece of wood might glide across your skin, leaving a magnificent scar stretching from cheek to cheek. It wasn't until 1930 that companies were able to produce paper without wood splinters. Despite this, Joseph Gaiety is not considered the owner of toilet paper, and neither are the Chinese. The one considered the owner of toilet paper is this man, Seth Wheeler. Why him? Because he simply signed a patent. Their patent is even stored on Google, and by registering the patent, he rightfully owned the idea of toilet paper. In this patent document, he also mentioned inventions that were truly brilliant, and which we still use today, rolling the toilet paper for compactness and adding perforations for easier tearing. But the most important thing, the answer to the question at the beginning of the video, how should toilet paper be hung correctly? I bet you're all eager for the answer, right? Here, the patent document confirmed that having the paper hang outwards is the registered method. Since the owner of the toilet paper said so, we certainly can't argue with that. But of course, how you hang the paper is your right. He is not a dictator. Just remember that all of us will judge you. Remember that. Speaking of paper, have you ever encountered dictionaries? Like Webster's English Dictionary. The name Webster has become a familiar brand associated with English dictionaries in America. Any Webster dictionary is amazingly high quality because it is read and accepted by so many people. And if there are any ridiculous definitions or misspellings, someone will surely point it out immediately. Webster has never been caught making mistakes. Except for that one time, they added a word that didn't exist in real life into their 1934 New International Dictionary. That edition was the largest book ever produced, weighing nearly 15 centimeters thick, a giant in the world of books. This giant was not perfect because it had an entry in the D section for the word dord, intended to mean density in physics and chemistry. This word did not exist. What kind of scientist would call density dord? So, if dord never existed from the start, why was it included in such a high-quality dictionary? It originated from the way each word in the dictionary was processed. A word would be written on a small piece of paper like this and go through many steps before approval. The original entry for density was not dord, but D or D. But for some reason, the next person drew a wavy line under the entire phrase, indicating that it was a single word, and the typist simply wrote dord in the final version. It wasn't until 5 years after publication that a Webster editor discovered this error and wrote a report for correction, but for some reason, nothing was done. In 1947, 8 years later, another Webster editor wrote a correction note, this time getting rid of the word dord. This is not the first time a widely read book had errors corrected like this. The Bible throughout. Different periods also had misspellings, leading to extremely contradictory meanings. In the book of Mark, chapter 7, verse 27, it says Jesus told him, "Let the children eat first." But in the King James Version of the Bible from 1795, there was also a small spelling error. The verse, "Let the children eat," first originally said, "Let the children first be filled." However, in that version, the letter F in filled was mistakenly printed as a K, making the verse, "Let the children first be killed." Hopefully, no one actually followed this instruction at the time. That wasn't the only instance. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 24, verse 3, it says, "And if the latter husband hates her and writes her a bill of divorce and gives it in her hand and sends her out of his house." In the 1682 Bible edition, the word hates was missing the letter H, becoming eats. Consequently, the verse no longer said, "if the latter is his wife," but rather, "if the latter husband eats his wife." Therefore, the printer called this the Cannibal Bible. There was also the Wicked Bible. It was the 1631 edition, and the error was in the 10 Commandments of God. In the 6th commandment, where we are reminded, "Thou shalt not commit adultery," but in that Bible version, the word "not" was missing, so the commandment read, "Thou shalt commit adultery." This disastrous error led to the printer responsible for those Bible editions being stripped of his license, fined, and sent to prison. This unique edition, with the error, is now very rare, with only a few copies remaining, making them highly valuable collectibles. Thomas, a French technician living in the 18th century. In 1790, he was arrested for being involved in a conspiracy to assassinate the leadership in Paris. After reading his indictment, Thomas calmly said, "I noticed you misspelled something in this." He was then hanged. Another instance. In 2016, British Prime Minister David Cameron announced that he would ensure immigrants learn basic English to easily integrate into the country's life. The problem was that the announcement published on the government's website had the word language misspelled. Language was misspelled as language. It is ironic that a government announcement about promoting English proficiency misspelled the word language itself. Speaking of mistakes, we all consider putting pineapple on pizza a mistake by humanity. But the fact that what's called Hawaiian pizza is still on restaurant menus proves it still has loyal customers. Certainly not me. Don't doubt it. I'm serious. But to answer the question, why Hawaiians put pineapple on pizza, The error is that they didn't do it, because Hawaiian pizza doesn't originate from Hawaii, but from a Canadian man named Sam Panopoulos. He was a businessman, but above all, a chef born in Greece. Sam Panopoulos immigrated to Canada at the age of 20 to work. Initially, he worked in a mine, but later switched to opening a restaurant with his two brothers. There, he sold American food with basics like burgers and French fries, etc. Then, in the 1960s, he started making pizza too. And 2 years later, he had an idea. What if he put canned pineapple on pizza? And he did it using canned pineapple from a brand called Hawaiian. Therefore, he named his new creation Hawaiian Pizza. At that time, this dish was incredibly popular. People genuinely liked it, until suddenly it came to be seen as an insult to pizza, and people started mocking it. In 2017, the president of Iceland, Gudnith Johannesson, declared that pineapple on pizza should be banned, and in response, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau posted on Twitter that he had pineapple on his pizza and supported this Canadian creation. However, considering the history, pineapple on pizza isn't really that worthy of condemnation. While modern pizza only became popular starting from the 18th century, and the word pizza originated in 997, every dish has its origins. And the origin of pizza is from ancient Greek times, when soldiers often ate flatbread topped with various ingredients. According to the poetry collection Dipnosophistae by Athenaeus, soldiers on the coast ate flatbread topped with fruit. So pizza with pineapple is simply a return to its ancient roots. On the other hand, currently, NASA has contracted a company to develop 3D printed pizza for astronauts in space, and they succeeded. Satyafis' goal is to print the dough, bake it, then add toppings, and it's done. Whether they include pineapple, I have no idea. And now, some little facts for dessert at the end of the video. Former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill had a secret bunker in London, where he would take refuge during air raids in World War II. He went there only once and never returned. Thankfully, Britain did not fall. By the way, the bunker of former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein was designed by the grandson of someone who advised Adolf Hitler. Next, the shortest marriage in history lasted for 3 minutes. A couple in Kuwait argued in 2009. Just after leaving the courthouse, the bride tripped and fell, whereupon her husband called her stupid. So the bride immediately returned to the judge and demanded a divorce. Years ago, on January 8, 1835, was the only day in U.S. history when the national debt was $0. And that concludes today's Brain Booster. Stay tuned for the next episode to learn more useful things. For now, goodbye, and see you again.